Most people believe that winning an argument means having the last word. They think it is about scoring points, dominating the conversation, or crushing the opposition with superior logic. But look closely at the person who is screaming. Look at the person who has lost their temper. Do you see a winner? Or do you see a slave? When you react to an insult with anger, you are not winning. You are submitting. You are handing the remote control of your emotional state to someone else and saying, "Here, press a button and watch me dance." You defend, you explain, you justify, and ultimately, you suffer the deep humiliation of losing control. The Stoic masters knew a secret that modern psychology has only recently confirmed. True power is not found in the volume of your reply, but in the terrifying weight of your silence. The goal is not to defeat the other person. The goal is to remain undefeated by their chaos. Today, we are going to dismantle the fragile ego of the aggressor. We are not going to use insults. We are not going to use rage. We are going to explore 5 specific psychological phrases, verbal tools that allow you to reflect their poison back onto them without ever losing your dignity. When you argue, you lower yourself to their level. When you remain calm, you highlight their chaos. Here is how to sound wise, not angry. Before we arm you with these phrases, we must accept a fundamental truth of human nature. Anger is rarely about you. When someone attacks you with vitriol, when they insult your character or question your worth, they are engaging in what psychologists call projection. They are fighting an internal battle and losing, so they try to export that war onto you. Happy, secure, and confident people do not go around destroying others. Builders do not destroy. Only the broken feel the need to break others. The average person hears an insult and thinks, "I am under attack. I must fight back." The Stoic hears an insult and thinks, "This person is in pain. I should observe." This shift in perspective is your armor. Once you realize that their anger is a confession of their own misery, you stop taking it personally. And when you stop taking it personally, you become invincible. This brings us to the first phrase, the ultimate disarming tool. It is a phrase that instantly flips the power dynamic from combatant versus combatant to doctor versus patient. The phrase is simply, "Are you okay?" But tone is everything here. You do not say it with sarcasm. You do not say it with a smirk. You say it with genuine, confusing concern. You say it as if you just watched them trip and fall on the sidewalk. Think about the physics of an argument. The aggressor is expecting resistance. They want you to yell back so they can justify their own rage. They need your anger to fuel their fire. But when you ask, "Are you okay?" You seem very upset right now. You deny them the conflict they crave. You are holding up a mirror. You are signaling that their behavior is so erratic, so out of character, and so unhinged that it warrants a medical wellness check. By refusing to be offended, you prove that their words physically cannot reach you. You are not looking at them with fear. You are looking at them with pity. And nothing, absolutely nothing, dismantles a fragile ego faster than realizing it is being pitied rather than feared. We live in a noisy world. We are conditioned to believe that we must respond immediately, that silence is a sign of weakness, stupidity, or defeat. But in the realm of high-level power dynamics, silence is the loudest sound in the room. When someone insults you, there is a frantic, nervous energy attached to their words. They have thrown a spear, and they are desperately waiting to see if it hit. They are scanning your face for the grimace, the hurt, the retort, the defense. They need that reaction to complete the cycle of abuse. Do not give it to them. Give them the void. When they finish speaking, do not answer immediately. Look at them. Maintain steady, unblinking eye contact. Let 3 or 4 seconds pass. In that social vacuum, their anxiety will spike. Human beings are terrified of social silence. Their mind will start to race to fill the gap that you have created. Did he hear me? Did I go too far? Why isn't he reacting? You are letting their own words hang in the air, exposed and foolish. Then you break the silence with a single, dismissive word, "Anyway," and you immediately return to what you were doing, or change the subject entirely. This combination, the void followed by the pivot, is lethal. The silence says, I am processing your behavior. The anyway says, your behavior was insignificant. It signals that their words carried zero weight. They did not shake your foundation. They did not alter your mood. You are treating their outburst like a passing car alarm, annoying perhaps, but ultimately irrelevant to the trajectory of your day. The wise are comfortable in the void. They do not rush to speak because they know their value is not determined by how quickly they defend it. By stepping over their insult and moving on, you leave them alone with their anger, and trust me, there is no lonelier place to be. But sometimes, silence isn't enough. Sometimes they will keep pushing, desperate for you to engage in their reality. This leads us to the question, why do we argue? If we look deeply at our own motivations, we argue because we crave validation. We need the other person to agree with us so that we can feel correct. We are fighting for reality dominance. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic teachers, taught us the dichotomy of control. There are things we control, our actions, our thoughts, and things we do not control, the opinions of others. When you try to force someone to change their mind, you are trying to control the uncontrollable. This creates friction. It creates heat. It exhausts you. The next phrase is the verbal equivalent of dropping the rope in a game of tug-of-war. When they are digging in their heels, waiting for you to pull back, you simply say, "You are allowed to think that." This is an act of radical acceptance. When you say this, you are declaring your sovereignty. You are saying, "My truth does not require your signature." Imagine the shock this causes. The aggressor is ready for a battle. They have their arguments lined up. They are ready to attack your logic. And you simply say, "You are allowed to think that." You have removed the friction. You have granted him permission to be wrong. This is not submission. It is elevation. You are acknowledging that their opinion is just that, an opinion. It is not a fact. It is not a verdict. It is just a thought existing in their head. And you are gracious enough to let it stay there. By granting them the right to dislike you or misunderstand you, you become untouchable. You prove that your self-image is generated internally, not externally. Sometimes, however, silence and acceptance are not enough. Sometimes, you are dealing with active disrespect that crosses a line. In these moments, you must confront the behavior, but you must do it without becoming a monster you are fighting. This brings us to the fourth phrase. This is not a shield. It is a surgical strike against bad behavior. When someone is rude, they are often operating on autopilot. They are reacting to stress, habit, or insecurity. They are not thinking, they are emoting. You need to snap them out of their emotional brain and force them back into their logical brain. You do this by asking, "Did you mean to be that rude, or did it just come out wrong?" Notice the structure of this question. It is devastatingly brilliant because it forces them to analyze their own behavior. You are putting them in a psychological double bind. Option A, they admit they were being intentionally malicious. Most people are too socially cowardly to admit this. If they choose this, they expose themselves as the villain to everyone in the room. Option B, they admit they lost control and made a mistake. If they choose this, they are forced to apologize or backpedal. Either way, you win. You are not attacking them, you are analyzing them. You are framing yourself as the calm observer who is trying to help them communicate better. You are identifying the rudeness not as a hurt feeling, but as an objective fact. You are asking, "I see what you are doing. Do you?" Finally, we arrive at the ultimate boundary. The Stoics understood that anger is a performance. Think about a toddler throwing a tantrum. They scream, they kick, they cry. But what happens if the parent leaves the room? The child stops. Why? Because the performance requires an audience. Without an audience, the drama has no purpose. Adults are no different. When someone tries to drag you into a fight, they are inviting you to participate in their drama. They want you to play a role. They want you to be the victim, or the villain, or the fellow screamer. The ultimate Stoic move is to refuse the role. When the energy becomes too toxic, you simply say, "I'm afraid I'm not the audience for this." This phrase is elegant in its finality. It implies that their anger is a show, a fiction, and you simply didn't buy a ticket. You are not saying that they are wrong. You are saying they are boring. You are signaling that this frequency of communication is below your pay grade. Stoicism is often mistaken for being a doormat, for taking abuse without complaint. This is false. Stoicism is about protecting your inner fortress. If someone is throwing garbage at the gates of your mind, you do not have to stand there and catch it. You can close the gate. By stating you are not the audience, you walk away, not as a victim running from a fight, but as a critic who has lost interest. You prioritize your peace over their chaos. You treat their outburst like a bad movie. You simply walk out. Using these phrases isn't about being savage or owning people on the internet. It is about something much more valuable. It is about preserving your energy. Every time you refuse to argue, every time you refuse to defend yourself against a baseless accusation, you are buying back a piece of your own freedom. The world is full of noise. It is full of people who are lost, angry, and desperate to be heard. If you stop to fight every single one of them, you will never reach your destination. As the great Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journals, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. When you fight fire with fire, you just burn the whole house down. But when you fight fire with water, you cleanse the room. Be the rock that the waves break against, not the water that gets tossed around. Stand firm, speak less, and when you do speak, make sure your words carry the weight of wisdom, not the heat of anger.